Alright, in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to hack your MIDI file to enable deleting cue points via your MIDI controller. Now for whatever reason, Serato haven't implemented this type of MIDI functionality to delete cue points, except if you have a natively supported controller like the Novation Dicer. That can delete cue points. However, it doesn't make sense that you can't do it with other regular MIDI controllers, and as it turns out there's a hack method out there to enable this type of functionality. Now I didn't discover this, Radical discovered this, the one who also figured out the jog wheel hack. I'm just posting a video on it, so all credit goes to him for this, for figuring it out and discovering it. But the way it works is basically you have your 4-button setup right here. It doesn't matter which MIDI controller you use. You can use this with any MIDI controller. I'm just using my S4 for this. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be the cue point buttons. So if you don't have any cue points currently set, if you press the button once, that will set the cue point at the spot. And if you press it again, that will trigger from that spot. And we'll just press set up other cue points. Now to delete the cue point, we're going to use the modifier button, which I'm going to use this button right here. And we're going to have to hold that down, and then basically you just press the cue point button again, and that will delete the cue points. Simple functionality, but for whatever reason, Serato haven't implemented it, at least in the software, as a normal regular MIDI command. You have to use this little hack method, which we're going to get into next. You're going to have to hack your MIDI XML file, and you're just going to have to add a couple lines of code, and that's basically it. Again, it's not anywhere near as complicated as the MIDI jog wheel hack. This should work with pretty much any MIDI controller. And we're going to take a look at that part next. So, this is how to enable the Dicer functionality with regular MIDI controllers. Again, just hit the buttons once, and that will set the cue point. If you don't have one set, triggering it again will trigger from that cue point. And also, you do not need the Enable Hotkeys option set in the setup menu with this. And then you have a modifier button to delete the cue points. So we're going to take a look at how to hack your MIDI file and what you need to put in to enable this functionality. Alright, so let's now take a look at how to actually hack the MIDI file and add the lines of code that you need to put in to enable this to work. If you're on a Mac, you're going to want to go into your internal drive, go into your music folder. If you're on a PC or Windows, go into your C drive and then go to your My Music folder. And in either case, you're going to want to go into either your _Serato_ folder if you're using 2.2. If you're using 2.1 or an older version, you're going to go into the Scratch Live folder. Remember, Serato changed to the new _Serato_ folder, no longer using the Scratch Live folder in 2.2 and up. So go in there and then go into your MIDI folder, and you're going to want to find your XML file for your MIDI controller. And we're going to right click that, and we're going to open that with some type of text editor. If you're on Windows, use either Notepad or WordPad. If you're on a Mac, use TextEdit, which I'm going to use right here. And we're going to open that up. And this is basically it. These are the lines of code that you're going to need to add to your MIDI XML file. And I'll put this in the video description down below so you don't have to sit here and type all this out. You can just highlight it and copy and paste it into your MIDI XML file. Alright, so now let's explain a couple things. Everything with an A in it means it's going to be for the left deck, and everything with a B in it is going to be for the right deck. So the first line I have right here is red hammer delete A. That is going to be that modifier button that you're going to need to press and hold down when you want to delete the cue points. Everything else, cue point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's pretty self-explanatory. Those are the individual cue point slots. And same thing for B. Again, B is the right deck, so we have the modifier button for the right deck, and then each individual 5 cue points for the right deck as well. Now, the next thing is channel. Channel equals 1. I use MIDI channel 1 in this example. It's rather arbitrary what channel you use. You can use anything 1 through 16 are the available MIDI channels on most controllers. Most MIDI controllers already default to channel 1 anyways. But you can change it to whatever you want, 1 through 16. And how you're going to change it is with your controller's MIDI editing controller software. This varies from controller to controller. Most decent MIDI controllers come with some type of mapping editor. If you use the Tractor Control X1 or the S4 in my case, you have the control editor software. which is right here. And this is what we're going to use to set up and change the values that the button sends out and what type of button is a note or a control change. So let's go back and take a look at this. So everything, I'm using MIDI channel 1, which I'll get into in a second in the editor. Event type note on, that just means the button sends out a note message and not a control change. I use note for every button for this particular function. It should work with a control change too as well, I just haven't tried it yet, but try to use note if you can, which again we have to set up in the editor. And then finally the actual number, the control number, that particular button sends out when you press it. Now this is rather arbitrary as well. You can use any number 1 through 127. I'm just going to use 40 through 45 for the left deck and 50 through 55 for the right deck. And we're going to have to use the control editor again to set up and define what buttons send out which message. Now, if your MIDI controller doesn't come with any type of mapping editor software, at the very least it should have came with a data sheet, or in the manual it should explain what buttons send out which particular note. And if that's the case, then you're just going to have to match it up. Look on the sheet and see, this button sends out, okay, this button sends out, 86, so you have to put in, 86 right here for whatever, and for every other button as well. But if you have mapping editor, you can pretty much choose whatever you want. So, just for example, again, this is only really applies if you have the Tractor Controller X1, but this is, similar theory and principle for other MIDI controllers as well. So, I use this button right here from the modifier. So that would be channel 1, and then note, and then the number is 40. So if you have an X1, you're going to click on that button. You're going to go to assign. The type, you're going to want to change it to note. You don't want to use control change or any of the other kinds, although it should work with control change as well, but I'd recommend note if you can. Channel, again, this is the MIDI channel, so 1. And then the note message, again, this is arbitrary, but in my case I'm going to use 40. So I'm going to type 40 here. Enter 40, hit enter. And I'd also recommend, if you're using the X1, use gate, don't use toggle. And everything else is fine right here. And that's pretty much it. So now you just go ahead and repeat this process now for all the other buttons. So this will be for Q.1, this will be for Q.2, Q.3, Q.4, and Q.5. So you just go through and do the same thing over again. So I'll use this one for Q.1, so we're going to change that to note, MIDI channel 1, and note equals 41, hit enter, and that's pretty much it. And you just repeat the process now for all the other buttons right here. Shouldn't take too long to set up once you get things going. And that is pretty much it. So that is how you edit and hack your MIDI file to enable deleting cue points via MIDI.